Welcome to the India Fintech Diaries, the only podcast focused exclusively on the Indian fintech market. I'm Elroy.
And I'm Hemant. In each episode, we dive into the latest trends, ideas, innovations, business models, and personalities that are shaping India's fintech landscape.
We also invite amazing guests who are innovators and industry players that are driving the change that is helping make financial services more modern, innovative, and inclusive in India. Come join us as we explore the changing landscape of fintech in India.
Welcome back to a brand new episode of India Fintech Diaries. In our last episode, we spoke to Vinay Bagri, CEO and co-founder of Neo, India's hottest neobank. If you have not heard our previous episodes, do give them a listen. I'm your host, Hemant.
And I'm Elroy. Today we thought we'd take a look at the newest kid on the fintech block, the account aggregator. Account aggregators are a new class of fintechs that will make sharing and accessing of financial data extremely simple. Ever struggled with submitting bank statement for the loan application? Well, account aggregators will make that as easy as clicking a button. To help us demystify this new segment, we have a special guest on the podcast today. I'm extremely pleased to welcome PG Mahesh, founder of Sahamati, collective of the account aggregator ecosystem. Welcome Mahesh to India Fintech Diaries.
Thank you, Hemant and Elroy. I'm really excited to be part of the podcast. The reason I say that it is my second podcast recording, since COVID. And the first one was on my old life, which I came from, which was a digital media. And this is my first podcast about account aggregator. So it will always remain special.
Awesome. Great to have you on the show, Mahesh. Dear listeners, before Mahesh starts unpacking account aggregator construct for us, let me give you a brief regulatory background to it. Account aggregator as a concept was introduced by the RBI in its master directions on a new category of NBFC, non-banking financial companies, called NBFC AA. These directions were issued in September 2016 and then updated several times from 2017 and 18. Mahesh, before we start getting into dissecting this concept of account aggregator, let's start with the problem statement. Can you help the listeners understand what is the exact problem statement that account aggregator as a construct is meant to solve?
Sure, Hemant. So now you see that, the way we are sharing information, we are able to share the data. It is not that we are not able to share, but it is not being done in a very safe, secure and scalable way. So let us take a simple real world example. Okay, when I go to apply for a home loan, I am asked to submit in the bank statements. So either I will actually give them the hard copies of the bank statements, from a 4 bank accounts is one option, and I need to have it notarized or the signature, of the bank manager. Option one. Option two, I will email them the PDFs, which means I need to go to my internet, actually banking, save my statement, ensure it is not password protected, have it emailed, to actually the branch. The third option is I actually share my credentials, which obviously is a very, very bad option.
Right.
Now, the bank or the NBFC, who are a fintech which wants to give the loan to me, now from that information needs to screen scrape it. Okay, and you have excellent actually tools today which will see these statements and extract information and all that is there. So number one, this is extra work. Okay, number two, how do you know that those statements were not actually tampered? Okay, and for the actually the one who's applying for the loan, it is a lot of work. You need to go to the branches or you need to download, and you yourself are the bottleneck. Now, account aggregator will allow you to share your financial data with your consent in a very fast way, in a secure way, and it will be also, what do you say, it will be, in real time, and it will have the digital signature of the provider. To give an example, when I go to apply for, okay, now what the UPI apps have done for the payments, right? You were always able to do payments, but you had a lot of friction you had to go to the internet banking, enter, my name, wait for half an hour, and you had to pay me. And maybe it was only a one-time payment, but still you had to go to internet banking and do all that. So what UPI has done for the payments, we strongly believe account aggregator ecosystem will do the same for the data.
Hmm.
Okay, so it is that. Now, if I actually continue the story, in an account aggregator system, what will happen? That how you have a UPI handle.
Mhm.
In account aggregator ecosystem also, you will have a system called the account aggregator handle. So you will know by looking at the handle itself with which account aggregator I have an account. You will know that.
Got it.
Yeah, so that's really interesting, Mahesh. And like you pointed out, right, this is something that is going to really change the way we're sharing data. I'm just curious, in this entire framework, how are the various entities going to interact? So, for example, you have your financial services companies that have the data, right?
Yes.
Then you have account aggregators at the other end, and you probably will have a lot of fintechs that want to access this information.
Yes.
So maybe if you could just explain to us how these three entities would interact in this framework and
Sure.
the overall framework that will help us democratize data access.
Correct. So, to start with, the ones as of now who can participate in this ecosystem, you have three players. The FIP, which is the financial information provider, is the institution where you have an account. It could be your bank account, insurance, actually company, your pension fund, etc., which is the FIP. Then you have the FIU, the financial information user, the institution which wants to use your data. For example, a bank which wants to give you the loan, you're a wealth manager who wants access to your data is the FIU. And in between, you have the new regulated entity, what we call the one with NBFC AA license, or the account aggregators.
Hmm.
All three, anybody who wants to actually be part of this ecosystem, FIP, FIU, AA, have to be regulated entities.
Hmm.
Okay, so that's where we are as of now. Unless you are regulated by the RBI, SEBI, PFRDA, and IRTAI, you will not be able to participate.
Understood. Understood. So, Manish, this is very interesting. So, just to make it more easier for our listeners also to understand, let's take an example. And I'm right now, as it would have it, in a process of doing some home loan for a home and everything. And I am
Yes.
facing the problem, of course, getting and sharing the data, and also thinking for how long the data would be with them and where it will
Correct.
be used and how it will be used. So, let's take that example of, say, a home loan.
Yeah.
And I just want to even tell the listeners that we are talking about retail products, but I think account aggregator will also open up to entities and SMEs, and will apply to that use cases
Yes,
as well.
very much.
Yeah, which we can pick up later. So can you just take one use case,
Say lending.
Mahesh? Yeah, and just walk us through the journey.
Sure. So like when you go and apply for a loan at a bank for home loan, now whether it is an application form or it is in the digital form, okay, which is in their app, or if it is a hard copy, now you will start seeing a new field called account aggregator handle. Okay, and now I'm going to assume that you already have an account aggregator account. So
Right.
to actually keep this entire conversation smooth, it's there. So I'm going to fill my account aggregator handle as example, my phone number at AA5.
Right.
So now the lender knows that I have an account with account aggregator 5. It directly communicates with account aggregator 5. So like unlike UPI where NPCI is the actually the switch,
Hmm.
in account aggregator ecosystem, you will not have a switch. So the lender will speak with account aggregator 5 directly. Now this FIU, as according to the regulations, needs to actually declare the what we call the purpose code. Why is this FIU requesting for my data? So it will be loan. For the loan application is one example, and it will say that it will also needs to say that what information it needs. It will say that it wants my bank statements, say for a period of 8 months. Okay, and it will have another field called the data life for for how long can it actually process the data. We are not talking about storing the data. We are talking about processing the data. So you have a field or a node called data life. So this information is sent to the account aggregator file, which will have what information it needs. It needs 8 months of my bank statements and for the purpose of the loan, and it has informed me that it will use my data for 15 days only, because it's a loan application, and within 15 days a lender should be able to tell me whether I'm going to get a loan or not. Now account aggregator 5 will get this request from FIU, and this account aggregator 5 will send me a notification either on the account aggregator 5 app or an SMS or an email saying that, hey, this lender has says that you applied for a loan, and it will show all those important fields to me on the app and say that if you are okay with this request, we want your consent. Okay, and as soon as I give the consent, okay, when I give my consent, I can choose which bank accounts I want to share my information with the FI. I may have 4 bank accounts linked in my account aggregator. This account linking works exactly like the way you have in your UPI apps. I think you know that you can have any number of accounts linked.
Correct.
Right?
That's correct.
Yeah, but when you make an actual payment in your in the UPI thing, you are going to choose from which account it needs to go. Okay, like off the linked account. Similarly, in the account aggregator, if you have linked 4 bank accounts, at the time of sharing my bank statement, I can say that, okay, share my bank statement from all 4 or only 3 or only 1, and I will give my give my consent. The account aggregator will actually create what we call the consent artifact and send it to each FIP. Okay, it will say that Mahesh has given the consent to account aggregator 5 that it is okay to share this statement. Then the FIP will receive this request and send the relevant data to account aggregator 5.
Got it.
And this each FIP will use the public encryption key of the FIU to encrypt all the information and send to account aggregator 5. So when this information will reach account aggregator 5, the account aggregator 5 is not able to make any sense of it. It is actually data blind. Okay, so account aggregator's job is what? It is actually a consent manager. It will receive from the user the consent. It will get the information from FIP, hand over to the FIU, and delete the data from the account aggregator. Okay, now account aggregator, FIU has received the information, and it is supposed to use all this information for that loan application only.
Mahesh, actually, I was speaking to someone from the Europe, and he explained me the account information service providers, or AISPs, from the Europe PSD2, and this sounds very much like that. For the uninitiated, an AISP is a company authorized by an individual or SME to access their data from a financial institution. The AISP can use this information to provide new services to the customer, such as analytics on the customer's data. Now, just for helping our international listeners understand, Mahesh, what is the difference between the AISP construct that people know and the account aggregator concept that we have in India now?
Yeah, so as you saw here, the account aggregator in India will not be going to store any information. It will not have access to any of your information, even when it is when it will receive from FIP and also deliver. Account aggregator isn't able to, because it's not able to see, it is not able to process it.
Got it. So basically, it's pipe, Mahesh, right? It's a pipe that connects the data. It is just passing data from one end to another end, based on the customer consenting to that passing of information.
Yeah. Okay. And if you see over there in the international one, they have access to the data.
Okay.
So that's actually very interesting, Mahesh, right? By just understanding what an account aggregator is permitted to do, it seems the entire framework is very proactive in looking to protect customer data.
So privacy.
Yeah, from a privacy angle. So just wanted to also understand from you what are some of the design decisions you took or the entire industry took to ensure that this framework is compliant with the new personal data protection bill, because it looks like a lot of the items that are required from that bill already covered in this framework. So
Yeah.
maybe you could just quickly highlight on some aspects of
Yeah,
that.
so actually, if you observe the main AA master directive, okay, when it was like actually how to say, when it was planned and all that, they had already kept in mind about the PD people. Okay, so the main thing, being the purpose code, okay, and for what it can be used, and for what, for what duration, and you will not be able to transfer any information without the consent. If you see the PDP bill, it means that any flow of the information, whether offline or online, it can happen only after you receive the consent of the data owner. Same thing happens in the account aggregator framework. So you will have to have the consent. You will have to declare the purpose code for what it is going to be used. You will have to clearly inform for what duration you will be going. You want the permission to use the data, and you will not be able to pass it on to anybody else without again getting the consent.
Okay.
So all these principles are actually captured here.
Got it. So, Mahesh, it's clearly visible that it has been designed in a very, very forward-looking way, taking care of the Personal Data Protection Act as well, or the bill as well. Now, we are mostly talking about the banking information and the data about the customer, which is with the banks. But considering the potential seems immense on this, Mahesh. So, since though we are talking about the banking information and the account data, what are the different data sources which are there on it right now, and as what is in the roadmap?
Sure, yes. Okay, see, as I told earlier, the only ones who can participate are who are under the 4 regulators, financial service regulators. We started implementing from actually the banking side because it has the highest penetration, as compared to the number of people who are investing in India, the number of people who have the insurance policies in India, and of course, the number of folks who are investing in pension fund in India is very, very low. So we have started from actually the banking side, especially after Jandan was implemented. The number of people in India who have actually bank accounts is extremely high now, because you have mobile penetration, you have digital penetration, and now you also have the banking penetration. So we started with that. But now soon you will hear that even the GST will also be an AFIP in this ecosystem, which becomes very, very key when it comes to lending to the MSMEs, right? Because you have one more source of verified data of the invoices, right? Because if I'm going to upload my invoice to GST, the lender almost knows that it is almost real. So as you can see, that every FIP which is going to give data, so for the FIU, it is verified information. So the banking information is going to come straight away from my FIP. So they know it is information what it is receiving is actually true. Now on the roadmap, we do obviously want to get more and more FIPs, which will help in the credit democratization in India, because it is the actual goal of AA is what is the financial inclusion. Obviously, it is not only for them, for everybody. So we have more than at least 550 million people in India who actually qualify for loans but are not able to get loans because they do not have a credit history, because either they have actually thin files or no files, even though they have income, right? So account aggregator over time, you will see, will enable the lenders to be able to give small size loans, sachet based loans to all these people, and slowly you will see that many people who are not having any files will have at least thin files, and the ones who had thin files will slowly move to have actually thick files with the bureau.
There's a follow-on question, Mahesh, on the same thing on the banking
Yeah.
data now. As we spoke about, from the banking information, a lender can get access to the account data and everything. So only the account information will go, or the lender can also get access to the loan data on that particular customer, or is it limited to the accounting data?
No, so the information which now, as of now, which can be shared by all the FIPs within the AA framework has to be the depositive data of the info, of the user, which means the asset data only. It won't be the
Okay.
pure, liability data which you can get as of now from the bureau. But because you are going to have access to even the bank statement, you will be able to see all the actual payments they're making for all their liability. Okay, right? Because in my bank account, you're able to see the actual salary which is going to come in, and also you will see some of the debits which is going for my home loan and my car loan.
Understood. And maybe the full credit data would come under the PCR initiative, the Public Credit Registry initiative of RBI. Is that understanding correct?
Yeah. So, which I hope we will go live soon. So over there, it will have the line by line, the liability, the transactions of every customer there, which will also one day will have a pipe from that, to the account aggregate, which will become an FI.
Okay.
Okay.
Got it.
So, Mahesh, I think it's now probably time to also address the elephant in the room. When I look at this entire framework, I see two broad shortcomings as of now, right? The first one is slightly a bit more obvious. So, for example, if an account aggregator cannot store any information or monetize the data that they process,
Yes.
how are they expecting to make money? What's the revenue model like? Maybe you could shed a little light on that.
Sure, yes. So the money A has to make will be from the transaction. So they can charge either the their own user, the one who opens an account with the account aggregator, or they can or rather they can also charge the FIU. So in
Okay.
the first phase, the way I see it is, the way we see it is, the account aggregator will charge the FIU for actually the service.
Okay.
Right, but the number of transactions, okay, and everybody may actually think it will be small, but you see the number of transactions which can happen in the account aggregator ecosystem, it can be extremely high. Like over a few years, for it to actually cross, like 1 billion or a few billion, like actually transactions every month. It will happen, in my opinion, because the number of people now who will apply for a loan, or they want to use the services of a wealth manager, all that, the number of opportunities now will increase a lot. So the number of
Okay.
requests which a user will give to the account aggregator, it will increase, and you will see as more and more of the banks and the FIUs, when they come on board, the number of the requests which will flow through A will like actually drastically increase.
I think the other question I had as a follow up on that was, don't you think this would actually commoditize this to some extent for these NBFC Because let's say I was running an NBFC I would find it extremely difficult to be able to differentiate myself in the market.
Yeah.
In this kind of environment where I'm actually only charging for data access, as opposed to an environment where I could have other sorts of ways at which I could monetize my services. How do you think that will play out actually?
See, to start with, I would say you would agree that India is an extremely diverse country. There's no
That's
doubt
right.
about it.
Yeah.
Okay, I think even if you ignore the entire country, I think sometimes within each state or each city, it is very diverse.
Yeah, it's probably sometimes the states are large as a couple of European countries put together.
Exactly. So, we do have so many segments in India. Like, you have actually salaried folks, then the MSMEs, the HNIs, the students. Okay, then you have the folks
Right.
actually in Bharat, which is very, very big. Okay, right. So each AA may choose to address the entire all the segments, or they may want to focus on a segment only.
Okay.
Somebody may tell, I will, so target, I will actually design my AA app for MSMEs only because I understand MSMEs. I know what they want. I will speak actually in their language. But if somebody wants to go to Bharat, he knows that English won't, right? So then in
Yeah.
his AA, he may say that I will have a voice support in their own language. I'm going to explain to them, when they get a consent request, I will explain to them in an audio or video what that consent is saying. So speaking of that, in the month of July, we held a hackathon, for AA, and every project you'll be able to see on Sahamati website. We had about 800 of them who applied, and about 400 and odd actually participated, and we had about 40 teams. So we had a few teams who had designed the account aggregator interface for Bharat, which had audio support and the video support. So if you see all that, the opportunities are actually there. And see, an account aggregator may have to actually think out of the box and offer some extra layers. Say for example, if an FIU has sent a consent and they're
Yeah.
asking for information which is more than what usually an FIU would ask, right? So it could warn the user that the request which has actually come is not looking the way it should. Are you sure you want to share your data? So these things, extra features, extra offers, is something an account aggregator should be doing.
Okay. I guess time will tell us how that will play out,
Yes, of
and
course.
I'm pretty sure how it'll be a fairly interesting time.
Yeah.
You also recently onboarded your very first bank, IndusInd Bank, onto the account aggregator
Yes.
platform and the overall framework. So many congratulations on that, Mahesh.
It was a very, very exciting event for all of us. Thanks for that. And because, we all have been working for years. So even though, first they got certified as an FIP, yesterday we got the news then that they've got certified as an FIU also. It has been, we are very happy, to hear it. And, always it is a bit slow and hard, for the first release, as you know. After that, everything
Yeah.
flows. And now you will hear every week, more of them will go live. Like for example, tomorrow we have an event with Axis Bank. Okay, which has been, which is also ready. So you will see between now and December, every few weeks, you'll hear from us, which bank, which NBFC is actually going live.
So this actually must have been quite challenging for you, and it actually brings me to my next question, right? Which is kind of dovetails into the other problem I see with the overall framework. Because see, unlike other jurisdictions globally,
Yeah.
where sharing of this kind of financial data has actually been made mandatory under regulation, India today has no such regulation that will compel banks to share information with account aggregators.
Yes.
So maybe you could talk us through some of the challenges you think that this might pose on staying side the bank side of the equation.
See, in a way, it is good in the very phase one. It isn't made mandate, okay? Because see, we also had to get ready. Account aggregators had to get, have their app in place, in their infra actually in place. Within the first year, if all the 150 banks and the few thousand NBFCs had actually piled on, to attend to everybody would have become hard. Now what we have the ones who have invested. I mean, I'm talking about the banks, who understood the framework, who have invested their actually time, money, okay, and were not afraid to take the first step. And what we call the ones who are part of wave one. We all have worked for the last year and a half on the implementation. We have understood, few things what had to change, and now with the wave one going live, we have a blueprint. Okay, which actually we know this blueprint to get anybody onboarded as an FIP or as an FIU, it will work. Now with this, it becomes very easy for us to get anybody onboarded. Now, even if it is not a mandatory for anybody to be, a part of AA, according to us, every institution under the four regulators will automatically will ensure on their own that they become part of AA for actually two reasons. First reason being the law, because once the PDP bill is going to be actually passed, it says every institution has to support data portability, right? So account aggregator gives you that entire facility because it also captures the consent. It will like actually capture the purpose code, everything. It is there. You have a framework which will do what exactly what that bill says. So you should use a framework which already is going to be used by the large banks. So everybody will agree for that. Number two, your actually your clients, your customers will force you to be on the account aggregator framework. Now, to give a very simple example, would you go and open a bank account with a bank which is not on UPI?
Probably not. Probably not.
Same thing will happen in AA. It may not happen on the first day that, when I'm opening an account in, like example, say in the month of January, I will go and ask a bank, are you on account aggregator? But within a year, you will see as more and more the use cases get implemented, they go live, especially with the MSME lending, which is about to take off. The the brand recall or the information of what everybody knows what account aggregator is will increase, and their own customers will ask these banks, we want you to be on account. So due to these things, we do see the most important ones will be part of the ecosystem.
Yeah, very interesting. So, two connected questions, Mahesh. We have been talking so much about the NBFC account aggregator. Now, these entities are going to play a very, very key and anchoring role in this
Yes.
entire ecosystem, right? Now, from that perspective, can you tell us what is the process to apply for NBFC account aggregator license, and how many of those have been granted already? And if you could also share the names of those.
Okay, if anybody who is interested in applying for an NBFC AA license to become an AA, they have to read actually the parts which are there in the AA Master Directive. It has very clearly explained how you can apply and etc. So to say example, you need to form a separate company, and the RBI will
Hmm.
look into actually the background of the founders, the who is implementing CXOs, that entire thing, and it should be financially
Got it.
stable. I think their net worth should be at least 2 crores. It should be there. Anyway, it is explained over there on how you can apply, and if anybody is interested to apply and they have anything to ask, they can always send me a mail, and we will introduce them to some firms who will be able to guide them on how to apply. Now, when you apply for an NBFC AA license, initially you get what we call an in principle license. Okay, and within 1 year of it, you need to go and apply for an operating license. So once you get an operating license, is when you can launch your commercial services. So when you have an in principle, you will start building, you will start interacting with the ecosystem, to see if your AA is okay, if it is working well in the UAT environment, is everything working? And once you are ready, you go and apply for an operating license. Now you have, as of now, as I speak, we have 4 account aggregators with an operating license. So in the order is like actually CAMPS, then you have FinView, then you have One Money, then you have the fourth one being a NADL. You have 4 of them, and the ones with an in principle who are waiting for their operating thing is actually Geo, then you have Perfios, and then you have Yodlee. So you have
Got it.
3 of them. And if you go on Sahamati website, we have all these names of the AAs. We have their contact information. We are very transparent. So anybody is interested, to speak with any account aggregator, you'll be able to talk to them directly.
Got it, got it. And since Mahesh, we have spoken about the process of getting an NBFC AA license, on the other side, for the financial institutions, two questions. One is, when they want to get onboarded, what is the process? And I'm sure there must be some certifications required. And part two is because data privacy is so important and there are norms clearly laid out. Is there an audit process that these financial institutions will have to go through to ensure that they're complying with
Sure.
those
So
processes?
now, like as you know, Rabbit has actually published, all the technical specification, which is the API schemas. Everything is on their website. Everything is there, and on Sahamati you can find links to all the documents, whether it is policy or technical. Everything we have on our website. So we have the ecosystem. When I say we, I speak for the ecosystem. The ecosystem itself
Hmm.
agreed that we should have a certification which only checks if the implementation is as according to the standards. So say for example, if an FIP has to be certified, okay, we only check, has it been implemented according to, what the schema is there. For example, when it has to send the bank statement, is a actually bank sending the information according to what is required in the schema. So we check only for
Hmm.
the implementation, has it been done according to the standard. We don't go into the all the extra ones, like, is there their cloud certification okay, security is okay, all that we don't do, because all these entities, FIP or AA or FIU, are all regulated entities, and each regulator is already asking each of these people, I think every year or so, for all those certifications. So our certification is only about implementation. Is it sticking to the AA specifications or not?
On the second part, Mahesh, what about the audit part? Will they have to undergo an audit on a frequent basis just to ensure that they're complying with deleting the data when it's supposed to be deleted based on customer consent
See,
and
the
all?
account aggregator itself, as you know, is directly regulated by the RBI, and according to
Correct.
their own regulations, I think every year or so, many audits, the audit reports, etc., will have to be submitted. So
Okay,
it is that, and see, it is,
got it.
for anyone to violate any of those rules, it will be extremely foolish, because you will
Hmm.
be heavily penalized, or one could even lose a license.
Good to know that. So this Mahesh seems like a very exciting period that we are
Yeah.
looking ahead to. But of course, I've also heard that fintechs are dying to get onto this platform, because if you see historical financial data which financial institutions have access to, is a huge moat that a lot of
Yeah.
financial institutions have.
Yeah.
There's no question there, right? And fintechs would like to definitely get access to that information, so that that margin or that difference which is between them and incumbent can be reduced. So as far as the roadmap goes, because you have clearly highlighted that right now it is only for
Yeah.
regulated entities, uh, how this account aggregator as a amazing platform from financial inclusion perspective is what an fintech would get access to in the future.
See, though, I mean, it's extremely hard for me to say what will happen in the future, because this is an actually topic, actually with the regulator, right? But you see, I
Got
think
it.
it is important to start off in a small way, and it works well, okay, and then to look on how it is expanded. Okay, it's expanded. So how
Hmm.
about this entire thing takes off now? By end of the year, or say at most by the financial year, you will see, all these banks will have it up and running, the use cases. But for the fintechs, now what will happen is, see, on my account aggregator app, I can request for the same information what an FIU was going to ask. So, example, on the account aggregator app, I can say that I want my bank statement for the last 1 year. So it will all that information will actually come on my app, and from my account aggregator app, I will be able to share with the fintech. To give a parallel example, when you actually so get a forward on your WhatsApp, you are able to share it. Okay, not only on WhatsApp, with any of the other apps you may choose to. It can go on By email, it can go on, example, Telegram, so Twitter, etc. Okay, right. So once you have the information in WhatsApp, from there it is up to the end user on how it will be shared. So for now, maybe the users can get all that information on their app, and from there the fintech will be able to tap it. Yes, it is not the same, but at least it is an excellent start.
That's fantastic, Mahesh. Another point is, Mahesh, the conversation has been so interesting that I actually forgot asking about Sahamati. Sahamati is playing a stunning role in the entire ecosystem. Can you tell us more about Sahamati and the role that it is playing in the entire account aggregator ecosystem?
So the work done in this entire area, so everybody should see indiastack.org/DEPA, DEPA, about data empowerment and the protection architecture, which was, the work was mainly done by the technology think tank iSpirit for years and years. Okay, then it became important that it required a entity which focused only on the account aggregator ecosystem. See, what happens with actually think tanks like them is that they always keep on working on to solve the new problems, right? So they finish the work on account aggregator. I mean, it is not fully done, but all the initial work, and now it is up to Sahamati, which has been formed as a collective, or you can say it is a trade body, etc., which is now going to work on actually the standards, how to improve the standards, how to improve security. Okay, then how to spread the word amongst the institutions, amongst the consumers. Can we innovate on the new use cases? Right. After all, any framework becomes useful only if you have excellent use cases. It may have all the bells and whistles, but if we do not have a use case which actually Bharat wants, which is actually tailored for them, this ecosystem will not be. Even when we work on anything, example, the standards and all that, it should be noted. Rebit is the only institution which can approve any changes in the specification. So what we do is we work with the ecosystem to to see how we can improve this ecosystem, and we go and speak to the relevant institution to see how it can be formalized. So that is the role we actually play.
Got it, Mahesh. So, Mahesh, when the account aggregator started, it was started in 2016, as we had discussed,
Yeah.
and it has been a slightly slower journey that we would have expected, because the advantage is massive to the entire ecosystem and financial inclusion perspective.
Yeah.
So, from as a guideline or expectation perspective, what do you think the entire fintech ecosystem as such, and from policy perspective, is that we can do to further accelerate this journey?
Uh, I think, I mean, now we know that, you will see as it, in the month of November, you will see at least, four banks will be on the ecosystem. So now it is for real, it has gone into production, it is not, on paper. So for this ecosystem to go live, it really becomes important for all the entities, who are forward thinking, who want to improve in their business, who want to give actually better personalized products for their customers. They need to ensure they come on AA, okay, and they need to work with Samati, okay, to see how we can improve this entire ecosystem. Irrespective of how we can improve the use cases. Is there any new use case to come? So all these things is what we need to work, and we need all the help from every segment, whether it's fintech, if it is the media, anything of them, to spread the word of on the account aggregator. It becomes important.
So it looks like Samati Mahesh has been doing a very instrumental role in getting the message out and getting the ball rolling for account aggregators. While we spoke a lot about what the platform is, what some of the players are in that space, could you also highlight some of the use cases that you're seeing today that can benefit from the services of an account aggregator? I know we touched briefly on lending,
Yeah.
but it could also help us to understand what are some of the areas other than lending where this entire account aggregator framework could be
Sure,
useful.
sure. So, see, I would say that every product, every single one, which any institution has, the bank, NBFC, the wealth manager, insurance, they all will find AA extremely useful. I will go one by one and explain on how it improves. Now, in a lending, for example, every institution is able to improve, example, the quality of the loan book, because now they have actually a good access, for, I mean, excellent access to the information of the borrower. It is in digital, machine readable format. It is digitally signed by the FIP, which means the amount, the money FIU has to spend on the fraud detection will actually go down, because it is from my FIP. It is in a real time. All of this is happening, and you are able to get the 360-degree view. I mean, maybe not on day one, but you will see in another 3 months. Yes, because you'll have access to information, either from his insurance policy, the investment is made, all the bank accounts. So the lender is able to really understand his financial health. Okay, so by which they are able to improve the quality of the loan book. Now we also need to improve the quantity if we want. The financial inclusion means more and more people also should be able to get loans. I'll speak only about the MSMEs to start with. Now, amongst the MSMEs who are filing GST, we have seen that a mere 8% of them have access to the formal credit. Okay, the rest, which is, yeah, only 8%. The rest, 92% of them, either are, few are not taking a loan, so they're actually struggling, or they are taking a loan at a very, very high interest rate. And all those folks who are going elsewhere for the loan, or even now with the formal credit, the size of the loan is actually more big than what they want, because otherwise it won't make sense for a lender to give a loan of, say, 15,000, 20,000 for 120 days. It won't work out. Account aggregator now makes it possible for the lenders to give sachet based loan. How you saw in that in FMCG, when the soaps, the toothpaste, actually shampoos, the sales went up a lot when that 4 rupee, 10 rupee sachets were sold. Same thing you will see will happen in the credit world. So thanks to AA, how it will happen, because now this MSME owner sitting in his factory on the phone app is able to apply for a loan and share his GST invoice, his bank statement, which shows what the actual cash flow. Because an MSME's main thing he has is what? Actually cash flow. Okay, and which you can actually cross check with his GST invoice and see how healthy it is. Okay, his entire thing. And if it looks good, you are always able to give a loan of 15,000 for 30 days, or say 1 lakh for 1 month, or 2 months. So as they say in the segment of the cash flow lending, in 5 years, which is by 2025, the size of this market alone will be 25 lakh crores. So I want to repeat, the size of the cash flow lending market in India by 2025 is set to be reach 25 lakh crores a year. So if any lender, yeah, it's huge. So if any lender wants actually wants a share of this huge pie, they will have to embrace technology. They will have to embrace the account aggregator ecosystem. So they need to embrace it now, okay, and be fully ready for it. So in lending itself, as you can see, it helps a lot. And the other one which I forgot to say, how you can improve the quality of loan book. Account aggregators framework allows you to monitor the bank accounts, because you can also give what we call a recurring consent. So I can give a thing to my lender that every first of the month I will allow you to see my bank balance. I may not give them access to my entire the bank statement. I may tell that okay, I'm okay with you having a visibility to my account, the balance of my four bank accounts, and also my activity, with GST. So if the lender sees something is going wrong with that, they will get what we call the early warning signal, and then they will be able to engage with with their borrower and see how they are able to take the the corrective action, either increase the tenure of the loan or have a chat with them to ensure it won't become an NPA. So the lending, as you see, will become very, very very powerful. In the insurance sector, we all hear that, I've heard from many that after the month of buying, or after a year of buying, they actually come to know that they were sold the wrong policy. I think everybody knows it happens.
Yeah,
That's true. That's true. Correct.
that's
Okay,
true.
now it could be either the one who sold, he didn't have he didn't understand the not like actually customer better, because when you ask most of the people, when they go to their wealth manager or they go to an insurance the company, and when they're asked, okay, how much money do you have in your account, or how much do you have in your, say, provident fund, nobody is able to give the accurate number. They'll all give some guess number, but which is usually not accurate at all. So with account aggregator, what happens? Your agent, your wealth manager, etc., is able to understand you far better, and what is the amount of risk, or what is the amount of the coverage you actually require. Okay, because we all think we are actually financially secure, we know how we are spending, but it is not at all true. Okay, and it has to be done in a scientific way. So account aggregator will help you, because in a you are able to get access to information from various kinds of FIPs. It would be banking, investment, or any of that. When it comes to the wealth managers, I've heard that the friction they face is that they have to depend on the customer to upload the PDF statements. Okay, to understand, where they've invested, how
Yeah.
much it is. And I heard sometimes, I heard about this few days ago, because one wealth manager, he told me at an average, sometimes they when they open a new account with the customer, to get all the information from the client, they have to wait up to almost 3 months.
And also, they'll probably have to follow up many
Exactly.
times just to get that done.
Very true, very true. But in the account aggregator, as you speak to him, as I'm speaking to you, if you send a consent request, instantly I can have it shared with you instantly. So it is a huge difference. It is a leapfrog in this entire space of fintech.
Yeah, that's very, very exciting, Mahesh. Another element, Mahesh, I was so excited about this conversation that I was talking to a few of my friends. One of these company, which is based in another country, was keen on understanding account aggregator, and they raised a question to me. So
Sure.
it's kind of an audience question I'm picking up right now.
Okay.
So what they said is that if an organization wants to become a technology service provider,
Yes.
can they receive the data on the behalf of an FIU, conduct analytics over it, and then share it with FIU? That's part one of the question. Part two is, because they are doing the analytics, of course, their own underwriting model or the engine will mature, right? And can they then offer that engine, not the data, to another financial institution? Those are the two questions that they had. So if you could answer
Sure.
them.
Yeah. So you see, whether you have AA or not, the as of now, as you know, that all most lenders are using the third party services, to actually process the data.
That's
Right.
correct. Yeah.
So and it is a B2B, actually thing, between the bank, and the TSP. So in the same way, it can continue, but one should understand all the obligations what the FIU had in this framework will also apply to the TSP, which means they will not be able to sell that information, which they got from their FIU, which I'm sure, that rule applies even now as we speak in the non-AA world. So, the short answer is, so the way all these TSPs are already working with the lenders, it can continue.
Awesome. That's thanks for that answer, Mahesh. Another point is, Mahesh, you spoke about the SME use case, and I heard, and of course I sat through the entire sessions as well. Is this OCIN, which is going to utilize NBFC-A, and OCIN of course stands for Open Credit Enablement Network, which is the democratization of lending initiative.
Yeah.
Can you explain us how NBFC, and it's just a glimpse, of course, the role NBFC-A will play in the OCIN initiative?
Yeah. So, I want to inform to everybody who's listening to this podcast. If you want more information about OCIN, you should actually, go to a site called credall.org, credall.org. Now, what's happening here is, with this standard, they have standardized the communication between the lenders and all these platforms. Okay, now in India, you have, so many lending actually platforms, right? But each bank had its own APIs, or each of the platform had its own APIs. So when you had to integrate between a lender and a platform, everybody had to customize either the lender or the platform, or actually, a thing. So, but if we can standardize that communication, between the lender and the platform, it obviously becomes much, much simpler for the entire ecosystem. Okay, so when a platform has to now integrate with the new lender, it will be the same APIs. Okay, but only the end point will change, because each lender will have a endpoint. So they are going to add one more endpoint, and they're able to talk. The schema is the same, the API is the same, everything is the same. So it becomes far, far smoother. So OCIN, what it will do is it'll get the information, of the borrower, about for how much loan, what period, etc., and it will be sent to the lender, and the lender from there will use the account aggregator framework to get the actual information, the real information of the borrower, whether it is the bank statement, the GST invoices. For that, the lender will use the account aggregator framework.
Mahesh, that's a very tantalizing glimpse into an initiative that has the potential to do for lending what UPI did for payments.
Very true, very true.
So in case listeners, you're wondering more about OCIN, you can refer to the link that Mahesh mentioned, but we also have you covered. So we'll be very soon doing a deep dive session on OCIN.
Oh, great. That's good.
Mahesh, it was a pleasure having you with us, and I'm sure our listeners have now gotten a deep understanding and appreciation of the account aggregator framework and the fine work that you're doing at Sahamati.
Thank you, guys. I hope all the information you all got, all the listeners will find it very useful. And if anybody has anything to ask about it, they're able to reach me at any point. So thanks for having me.
That's it from India FinTech Diaries this week. If you would like to know more about account aggregators, take a look at the show notes for more information, and do visit sahamati.org.in. I hope you enjoyed today's conversation as much as we did. Have a great day and stay safe.